afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this exciting episode. I so used to do in my LinkedIn lives, but on this exciting session of the Bahamas Agile and Project Management Community. As always, I am your host for this evening, Andrea Pratt-Smith, the founder of BAPMC, and I'm joined by Lakshmi and Kamal, really good friend of mine, who have this very amazing session about finding balance that you will be treated to this evening. And when I first saw it, I was so intrigued. I was like, I have to have a second dose of Lakshmi and Kamal because the insights and the knowledge that you share, the theories, the practices, it really helped me think more about self-care and how to find that right balance between work life, personal life, and everything else that we tend to juggle as project managers, agilists, and just human beings. So I want to just start with an icebreaker to give our latecomers a minute or two to join us before we really dive into the session. So if this is your first time here, I know Sarah is a regular, Kenny is a regular, but BTVI and Bijarja, no, I'm not pronouncing that right. I'm not going to slaughter your name. So if you can come off mic, come off mute and introduce yourself. If this is your first time here, let us know. If you prefer to type in the chat, that's fine as well. Okay, well, Sarah and Kenny, you're welcome to say hello. Everyone is acting shy today. This is a shy day.
In my defense, I'm always shy.
I know. Well, hi, Sarah. Welcome. Thank you for joining us again. And Kenny's on the road. He's typing in the chat.
No.
So we are going to get started. I know that more persons are going to join us as we get into the session, but don't worry, they'll just follow along. So let's get started with a quick word of prayer. Heavenly Father God, today I am exceptionally grateful for just small blessings, small wins, and for the ability to meet again as the Bahamas Agile and Project Management Community. Father God, you have been so good to this community of practice that was founded 3 years ago, and we are nearing 1,000 members there, God, and we thank you for that. We ask that you would allow our members and followers to come to a realization that every session is a valuable session, one that should not be missed, and that they should join us, share knowledge with us, learn with us, connect with us, network with us, grow with us. And we ask that you would continue to open up the doors of heaven and pour down your blessings on this community of practice and everyone that is here, everyone that is involved in this community, and everyone that learns from us. Lord, I ask that you put a special blessing on our guest speakers today, Lord. Give them the grace, mercy, and understanding to continue to do your will, to share the knowledge of finding balance in our lives, Father God, because we know that our will is not your will, and that you want us to walk in peace and balance so that we can prosper. We ask all these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
So without further ado, Lakshmi and Kamal, the stage is yours.
All right, let me see if I can share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, let me, hold on. Let me just share it one more time because I want to make sure that we have sound too for later. All right. Great. Well, I know we're a small, intimate group, and that's okay. Whoever are here, the people that need to hear this session and be part of this session. And some of you may be listening into the recording. So I'm Lakshmi Ramaseshan, enterprise coach at an organization in Southern California. I'm really passionate about building high-performing organizations. And I believe that that can only manifest if we focus on people. We build healthy habits to be sustainable in the way we work on our work and how we manage our work, but also how we work with each other. It's really important to have good communication patterns and collaboration patterns the things that get in the way for us to get work done, right? And one of the great ways to do that is by showing up to be your best self. And when you find the balance in your day-to-day, you can be your best self. And that's a great step, because that's the only thing you can control is how you show up, right? So that's why this topic is really near and dear to our heart collectively. Definitely my heart, because I struggled a lot personally with finding balance. And Kamal, who is also my husband and thought partner in many fun adventures, has actually shared some of his knowledge and experiences and helped me find my own balance. So that's why we really are partnering together on this topic today. So Kamal?
Thank you, Lakshmi. And I want to start by thanking Andrea and everyone for taking the time to be here today and share a little bit of your life with us. My name is Kamal Kalra. I'm also based in Southern California. I'm an Agile leadership coach. I actually have a mechanical engineering background, and I fell in love with leadership coaching in the Agile space because I learned very quickly, for me, one of the biggest ways that I can make a fundamental difference to better functional teams and a better team environment is by producing a leader that's able to recognize that to begin with. One of the things I learned, one of the things I saw out in the wild while working with teams is, we can do the best that we can. We can come off stage and we can learn all the skills, and then we can go back into the grind and do our daily thing. But if teams are powered by an environment that's not conducive to better balance and better functionality, then they're constantly going to be spinning their wheels, hindered in knowing how to do the right thing. So I learned very, very quickly that my real passion is in leadership coaching and helping leaders recognize how they can build a better environment for teams to thrive in. Thus, I'm extremely passionate about leadership coaching. The concept of finding balance is something I've always been very, very passionate about. I learned at a very early age in life that extremism in any one direction might serve us temporarily, but in the long run, it probably won't be the best thing. Before we all joined right now, me, Lakshmi, and Andrea were talking and joking about some of the adventures that Andrea's been having lately in terms of her escapades around the world, being the world traveler that she is. And the things that we all three laughed about and came to mind is, this is such a perfect time to express this, because the concept of finding balance, and it's worded so perfectly, because the concept of balance isn't something that somebody is just going to walk up to you and hand to you like a birthday cake, It's something that you have to work at. It's something that you really have to work at, as Andrea is learning in her recent times. You really have to work at finding balance. It's a job, but it's a job that has the potential of giving you some of the highest returns throughout your life in all facets. So Lakshmi and I both are extremely passionate about helping people find balance. And that's a little bit about me, and I'll let Lakshmi continue.
Thank you, Kamal. All right. So one thing we wanted to sort of share was, we have done our best to sort of shorten this 90-minute workshop that we had into 60 minutes. So we'll do our best. And Andrea was really gracious to say, well, you can take another 10, 15 towards the end. So let's see. And we're a small group, so we should have plenty of time for great conversation as we're going through the concepts. Please don't feel shy. I mean, we want this to be more conversational, not like a one-way presentation. So the more you engage, the more you take away, right? That's really our philosophy. So we're going to start with a little bit of self-reflection and talk about stress and how we connect to stress. We'll go into some concepts, and Kamal will introduce some of these concepts of stress. Most importantly, we'll talk about, what's good stress and bad stress, right? How does it impact us? And what's a stress cycle? How can we interrupt that? So some concepts there. And then we'll go into some discussions on what does that mean for us? How does that apply to our lives? What ideas do we have, right? We'll do a little bit of a main room sharing. And then we'll do a little practice. We'll actually practice a technique to interrupt stress that you can use in your day-to-day at any time during the day when you just have 5 to 7 minutes. And then we'll do recap and some Q&A. So it's going to be a pretty flowy session, and don't worry so much about these time boxes. We'll do our best to go with the flow and give us, share your thoughts. The more engaged you are, the more fun we'll have as well. So we'll feed off of your energy. One quick disclaimer before we start is we are obviously very passionate, as you can tell, about finding balance, but we are not professionals at this. So if you're experiencing very severe stress-related ailments, please seek some professional help, because you're worth it, and it's not good to be carrying that stress around for you, for yourself, and for your family, and for your coworkers and your teams, right? So please, just wanted to mention that. Obviously, we are sharing this because this is something we're passionate about, and this is what we've learned through the journey of our lives, but we are not professionals by any means. So that's just something we wanted to share. All right, so now that we have the logistics, let's get into it. We want to take a couple minutes to just do a silent reflection on what these questions mean to us. And think about a recent stressful moment. How long did that stress last? And how did that make you feel? Just think about the last week or two, something that impacted your life. So we'll give you a couple moments, and I'll play some music if the technology cooperates. And then when you're ready, you can raise your hand, indicate to us, or put something in the chat that you're ready. And
we're a pretty small,
yourself.
yeah, we're a pretty small group. You can just come off mute and start talking if you'd like.
Yeah.
This is a great opportunity to just take a deep breath and reflect on a stressful moment, whether it was something in your professional life or something in your personal life. Doesn't matter. As long as you feel like it caused you noticeable stress, reflect on that, think about how long that stress lasted and how it made you feel. And then we'll give you guys a few seconds to think about that, and we'd love for you to share some experiences.
Well, let's see if this music plays. Can you hear it?
Yeah, perfect.
Two minutes electronically seems exceedingly long, so that's why we're going to play some music. So you don't feel awkward. Take your time to think.
In our fast-paced life, 2 minutes seems long.
It does.
But yet, it's so amazing if you get in the right headspace. Not just 2 minutes, but 2 hours can go by without you even knowing it. When you're truly in flow, right? The time just flies by.
True. Very true.
So just as a check-in, does anybody have something they'd like to share?
I do, but I will wait and see if someone else will speak.
Hey guys, I will go. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, I just got off the road. So good evening. So for me, stressful experience was I was leading my Rotaract club, and I did not realize how political it was, and actually, basically, a lot of persons somewhat undermining me for the entire duration of my tenure. So you had the what I want to say, the former leader who didn't want to be outshined. And then, of course, the leader to come, making sure that they are not, like the bar is not set too high, I feel. So basically, through the entire ordeal, it was just a lot. I remember feeling a lot of pressure, blood pressure. And it's this like some parts was anxiety and some parts was just a mounting building up of pressure and you don't have no way to basically release it. Or even when you release it, it feels like it's just a temporary relief, knowing that the following day it comes right back. But what I could say is I even though I wouldn't want to voluntarily relive the experience, after coming out of it, it kind of made me just a stronger person. A lot of things, a lot of so-called challenges, what I consider challenges before, was just a lot more easier and just felt I could deal with, or I could say the things I complained about prior to the incident. I just was happy for life after that point, just happy for every little thing. So it just made me a better person on the outside of it.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing, Ken. Anyone else?
As I'm waiting for persons to speak, I'm remembering the need for silence. But I'm looking at Sarah and I'm like, Sarah, say something. Sarah, say something.
Silence is active silence, I call it, is one of my favorite tools that I love using.
Isn't there a book on that, The Power of Silence or something like that, written by
I'm sure there's many books, on that,
where it's like, if you're an introvert, you just, I can stare at you all day. It's fine. I'm not going to talk. It's fine.
We won't think you're a weirdo just staring at us all day.
That was the point of the book. It makes other people, it specifically makes extroverts uncomfortable, and then they'll go ahead and speak.
Yeah.
I didn't particularly have a very stressful last 2 weeks because my husband and I were on a COVID quarantine, so we're just kind of chilling at the house. I was thinking, though, when you were talking about this, my undergrad background was in social psychology, and sometimes if you have other conditions like OCD or PTSD or something like that, like the way you function and manage stress is going to look different. And so one incident for one person is going to take a lot longer with someone with OCD or PTSD or something like that.
Great point. Yep.
Thank you, Sarah. Andrea, you may be up.
Yeah, I may be up because I'm looking at Tavain and she's looking at me and she's like, I'm not speaking. I don't care how much you stare at me.
There's that understanding that's going on.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not saying anything. You could stare away.
Silent language.
Yeah. But for me, I had a stressor last month when I was traveling back home from Washington. And my flight was delayed 3 times. So I was in the airport for basically the whole day. And every time I thought I was going to get on the flight, but it's like, oh, no, you got bumped to the next flight. And I'm like, okay. Instead of me allowing the stress to just keep accumulating or, having the episodes of feeling so stressed, I took it on like this. I found a space in the side part of the airport that had a desk and outlets, and I set up my computer. And one of the persons who were traveling back to Atlanta later on that evening, I left them at the hotel. So she met me still at the airport when she came, and she was like, "You have a whole workstation set up in the corner. And like, what's going on over here? Why do you have an office in the airport?" And I'm like, listen, instead of me being stressed about the situation that I have no control over, I can work remotely from anywhere. That's the joy of being a project manager and an agilist. We just need internet connection, a outlet, and a laptop, and work continuous. So I was able to get in so much work just waiting on my flight that at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, this was a blessing in disguise, because if I was in the air or in the airport or in transit, I wouldn't have been able to get so much work done. So I'm like, look at God.
That's great. And I think a lot of the times it's how we respond to situations like that, right? That really is either saves us or makes us stressed out, right? So if you're responding in a way that you're saying, well, okay, let me look at the silver lining. I'm here. What can I do about this? And how can I make the most out of the situation? The situation hasn't really changed, but how you look at it has changed.
Yeah.
So,
Perspective.
and oftentimes that's the part that we have control of. That's great. Oh, awesome. So let's proceed. So I think Kamal is going to share a few concepts as we go through this. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, or you can unmute and you can share them. And I know, Kamal, you're really good at stopping and asking as well. So take it away.
Thank you, Lakshmi. So let's talk a little bit about the concept of stress. Why does it matter? What is this thing, stress? Why is it such a prominent part of our modern lives? Well, it's interesting. Whether we like it or not, whether we want it or not, stress is a genuine part of our lives. We're meant to use it. It's not something that we're designed to let consume us. Stress, there's biological stress, there's emotional stress, there's mental stress, and all of it, put together makes us who we are. It's part of our lives. It should be a skill that should be taught in school, this concept of stress management and how to manage stress and how to look at different aspects of stress. But unfortunately, this is one of those fundamental things that we all have to learn on our own as we get out into the wild. One result of uninterrupted stress is constant anxiety, like I think some of you shared in some of your stories off mute as well as in chat. And anxiety is a very, very real consequence of unmanaged stress. Any quick comments about that from anyone before we go further? Okay. So what is it? Again, as mentioned, stress is a natural reaction to not being able to cope with a specific demand or event, whether that be physical, whether that be emotional, whether that be mental, or in many cases, all of the above, all at the same time. Is it good or bad? Well, we know from various papers and medical studies, stress can be a great motivator in all three of those aspects: physically, mentally, emotionally. And it can be essential to survival. For example, our fight or flight response or the freeze response. When the body gets triggered too easily, or there are many stressors at one time, more things than we can handle, it can undermine a person's mental and physical health, and in the long run, become very, very harmful if it's unchecked, unrecognized, and unmanaged. So there's two different types of stress. There's the concept of acute stress and the concept of chronic stress. Acute stress is probably something that all of us experience on a regular basis. And for the most part, it's pretty harmless. It's short term, very common. Why it happens, pressures of a specific physical or emotional or mental event, a stress of something that you're trying to do in the moment that you're not able to grasp, a mental problem, a physical challenge, all induce acute stress. Some manifestations may include temporary headaches, racing of the heart, an upset stomach, a dry mouth, shortness of breath, excessive sweating, and in many cases, many of these, if not all of these, combine at the same time. And overall, long-term repeated incidences of acute stress can become chronic and transfer over to the next category, which we call chronic stress. This is the real danger. This is a real dangerous type of stress. This is the kind of stress that most of us over our lives become really good at adapting to. And as a result, we become very poor at recognizing the fact that we have this underlying chronic stress all the time, and it goes unchecked and it goes unnoticed. It's very long-term and it's far more harmful. Some examples that can trigger or induce chronic stress are various different aspects of a lack of fulfillment in a person's life. Short-term accomplishments versus long-term accomplishments. Uncontrolled environments. Many people that suffer from, control syndrome, natural anxiety, high levels of anxiety, they become very uncomfortable when they're in situations that they can't control everything, and that causes constant stress, which becomes chronic. Acute stress that over and over and over and over every day, every week, every month, every year is just present all the time, changes to what we call chronic stress. Detrimental health issues and diseases and continuous lack of clarity and fogginess are just some of the results, deeply unfortunately, of chronic stress. Not to mention many other aspects, which, we could do an entire talk on just the realities in the body, physically and mentally and emotionally, that chronic stress causes. Chronic stress can easily go out of control and lead to many overall well-being issues. Any thoughts anyone would like to share? Anything coming to mind?
If you've experienced any of this, you're not crazy, right? I mean, I think that
you're quite normal.
You're quite normal. And I think the thing that I love what you said, Kamal, is we are, as humans, we're really great at adapting to anything. And so it's very stealth, right? It's not obvious. And sometimes we just think that we just need to cope with it. And that's what we need to do. And that's what we do. And so if you don't build some sort of way to have those checkpoints, to have people in your life that can share how they're seeing you, it can get out of control, right? Until a point where it's so late that you have to do something drastic. So I think it's all about building that awareness, surrounding yourself with people that are aware of how you want to be as a person, and telling you when you're not that person. and you can really use that as a good self-awareness check. I mean, I think it's a blessing and a disguise that Kamal is a coach, because he calls me out all the time. And, so you can see that most of the times it's good and sometimes it's annoying, but that's just how it is. It's sometimes you don't want to hear it. You're like, yeah, I know I'm stressed. I don't want to be told that I'm stressed. you know, but that's the thing, is you need those friends and partners in your life, and that can call you out because you're not calling yourself out, right? And so
I
One of
think,
the
that was
examples,
coming to my mind.
sorry, I think James wanted to make a comment.
sure.
Yeah.
James, you're off mute, but for some reason we still can't hear you. No. I could read lips though. Talk slower. Okay, whilst James is fixing this technical issue, because we still can't hear you, James. I had a question about when I was working in the corporate world before I started my own company. I worked in a very toxic work environment, and the founder of the company or the owner of the business, he would purposely come to work and try to stress people out.
Wow.
And then when I react to it, then he would make this stupid comment, but oh, she's having a time of the month.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I mean, so how, as a female, how should we respond to situations like that when we have stresses and we have a reaction to those stresses, but then it falls back to, oh, she's just being a female. That's just how they act.
So I know how I would love to answer that. And Lakshmi knows how passionate I am about people that are just of that type. And so I would say to such a person in a very, very simple, normal, straightforward way, I would say to this person, I would say, thank you for sharing your perspective. If you'd like to learn more and become better at thinking than the way you do, please let me know. I'd be happy to help. And just walk away.
Yes, that's very constructive, but I must tell you, it took a lot of practice for me not to pick up that letter opener. So
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
I had to learn how to walk away because the mind is telling me,
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. So I was going to share real quick, with this concept, when we talk stress, one of my favorite questions that I like to leave on the table is, tell me about your channels of release. So think about a bathtub. You fill the water with bath water. As you fill the tub with water, you cannot infinitely keep filling it with water. Every tub, no matter how small, no matter how big, has a finite capacity. Once that capacity is reached, there needs to be some form of release to release some water so you can continue adding water. Stress is exactly the same way. Most people don't realize that in our modern lives, where we're bombarded with stress from every given direction, we need to actively learn to build channels of release so that every single day, at the end of a work day, at the end of a physical day, we can practice actual exercises releasing stress so that it doesn't accumulate over time and become chronic, hiding in the background. And all of us are so good at adapting to our stresses, where years and years go by and we don't even realize it, that we've been adapting to all this stress and it's been piling up. So this is one of my favorite questions early on in dialogue. I love to ask leaders is, what are your channels of release? Describe to me your channels of release. And I tell you, 95% of the time, people have no idea what I'm talking about, and they don't have any such thing in place because they don't give it priority until it's very late.
Well, and my most favorite response, because there's a couple leaders coming to my mind that are go, 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 right? My most favorite response is, well, I don't have time for that right now. Like that's something I'll do,
Right.
at a future time, right?
Classic. Yeah.
I just have so much to do. I don't have time. It's like, whoa, not only do you not realize what you're doing to yourself and your body, but how about the impact on your teams that you really care about, right? So I think it's more about yes, it's going to be beneficial for you, but it's also going to be beneficial for anyone you touch, whether it's your family or your friend or your workmate, right? So, yeah,
Like it's like the
really,
example Andrea shared, like that person definitely needs to learn to manage their stress better than to
yeah,
say useless comments like that.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I think I understood that person better because
Mm,
I would always question like why are they always so angry and like trying to transfer this negative energy on other people. But then I come to
mm,
realize when you live in a toxic environment,
Right.
mm,
it affects you and then you spread
mm,
it like a virus.
Yep.
So it's like if,
yeah,
and then, when you have to work in a toxic environment and you're frustrated all day, then you have to go home and deal with your husband and your kids, then you become infected with that virus and you become a toxic person wherever you are and in whatever environment you're in. And so
Yep.
then you'll find yourself, if your child do something, you screaming at them when normally you're calm with dealing with your children. And I'm like, okay, this is transferring and I don't want this to be transferred to my home. So I'm like, okay, I had to realize it and know that, okay, something's going on here. This is negative energy. I don't want this in my body. I don't want this in my mindset. So, the way I would release it is I would just tell myself, once you walk out this door, whatever happens in
mm,
this office stays in this office. It's like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But what happens in that
yes,
office stays in that office. And my
yes,
home is a happy, peaceful, loving home. I love and nurture my kids. I love and nurture my husband. That energy does not live in my home. But
mm,
a way that I would get released is that, we have a lot of beautiful beaches in the Bahamas. So all I have to do is walk 10 minutes out of my front door and I'm on a beach. So
Wow.
I could just go for an afternoon walk on the beach, watch the sunset, sit down with a nice cool drink, and just enjoy life and just enjoy nature and say, you know what, whatever happened today, I get a fresh slate tomorrow.
yeah.
Amen.
Oh, love that. So
Love that.
this is a perfect segue to talk about the stress cycle and how we can interrupt it. And I think you've already sort of stored this with a lot of great ideas. Um, Stress, like any cycle, is a cycle that can be broken, right? And we've already started to tap into this. When you're experiencing that stress, if you're able to be aware of it, you can break it. And we'll talk about different techniques that you can use to break it. And once you break it, you can get back to normal, right? But usually what happens is we don't become aware of that until it's too late. And then when that happens over time, as Kamal was sharing, the acute stress accumulated over time cause health problems and it becomes chronic stress. And now you have to go to a professional and it doesn't feel good. Like you don't want to feel like you're not normal, right? But you've gotten so out of control that you can't get your life back in balance and back to normal. So this is the thing that as we start to think about what do we experience in our day to day, whether it's at work or at home, it doesn't matter. Anything that you're experiencing, you can interrupt that stress cycle. And there are some simple techniques, just standing where you are, that you can do. And that's going to bring you back in balance, right? And that's the power of this. It doesn't have to be anything big. It's the small stuff that you can do in the middle of your day, in the middle of that stressful conversation. You can take 2 minutes for yourself and bring yourself back in balance. Easier said than done.
Mhm.
However, practice makes perfect. And Kamal and I were just talking about this yesterday. I had a big presentation today with other leaders, and Andrea, we were talking about that earlier. And it's always just reminding me that at the end of the day, you have this. You have practiced this. You know the material. There's no need to get nervous. Just breathe, and the simple act of breathing brings you back to yourself. Right. So it's small things, and those small things, when applied, can make magical changes in your body, in your mind. So when we look at stress interrupters, and we've already started talking about some of these are some simple techniques you can use. when you feel stress, to just reconnect back with you. Breathing is a really simple one, moving, meditation, laughter, reading. But we're going to sort of just have a conversation about this. And if you have ideas on how you do any of these and how you apply any of these, unmute and, share with us. But Kamal, I know you've taught me a lot about breathing and the benefits of breathing. And I applied it today and it was magical. I was not even nervous. I didn't feel my heart race. It was amazing. I was like, how could I do this every time? Right. So what are the benefits of breathing and how can we remember to do it more? That's the thing. I know it's beneficial, but how do I remember it?
Well, lucky for you, you don't need to remember it. Your body remembers it for you. And
yes, that's true.
On this list, breathing is one of my all-time favorites because it's the only one on this list that we really don't have an option in, right? It's a fundamental of our existence. But as such, I believe most of us take the concept of breathing completely for granted. One of the subconscious things that we do is when we get stressed, in times of being nervous or in times of being scared for any reason, having different versions of stress be present, one of the first reactions that subconsciously happens is that our breathing becomes shorter.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very distinctive thing that the body does to try to get you to survive. It shortens your breathing to get you to cope with this stress that's happening. One of the greatest things we can learn to do is to recognize that, identify it, flip it, and just tell yourself to just pause, take your time, and come back to breathing correctly. Breathing slowly, breathing deeply, and within just 3 or 4 deep, slow breaths, all kinds of magic starts to happen. You start to calm down, you start to feel more centered, your parasympathetic nervous system kicks in, starts to relax you as a higher level of oxygen starts to get exchanged in and out, and far higher levels of blood flow start to go into the brain and out of the brain, and everything starts to get better with slower, more deliberate breathing. So breathing is one of my favorites.
I love it. I'm going to remember to do it more because it was magical today. Moving. I know that we love to, take our weekends and go hiking. I know definitely feeling top of the world when you come back from a hike or a walk or run, whatever may be your form of movement. Why does that feel so good? Like, what does it do to our body and our mind?
So again, one of my favorites on this list. I love the example Andrea shared earlier. It's something Lakshmi and I do as well when we come home, sometimes from a really, really stressful day, or we've had a very cramped day. And, come 7 in the evening, 8 in the evening, and we find that stress still lingers over us. One of my favorite things to do is to just go for a walk. Just go for a walk. Don't have any agenda in mind. Don't have any reason to go for the walk. Just aimlessly stop trying to talk yourself out of it and just go. Just go. Just go for a walk. Just go for a 15, 20-minute walk. It doesn't need to be some magical thing, some overly complex thing. Just get out there. Just walk for 15, 20 minutes. And again, much like breathing, what starts to happen is you have an increase of blood flow as you start to walk. And again, there's a higher level of oxygen exchange in and out of your cells. And within just 10 minutes of walking, you start to relax, you start to feel more centered, you feel better. So many legendary people of this planet of ours, some of the most famous people that we know of, can contribute some of their greatest ideas, link them to bouts of exercise when they were either on a walk or a jog or a run or a hike or doing yoga or cycling. Some physical activity was where they got some of their greatest ideas. And it's because of all these reasons. The increased blood flow throughout your body super oxygenates the body, gets your mind into a centered, peaceful place where you can think more clearly. So moving, general movement is very, very critical.
Yeah, it does make you feel good, doesn't it? And yes, I loved what you said. Like it's almost like you have to stop listening to the voices.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to watch that Netflix show and you don't want to go for a walk, but maybe going for a 15-minute walk will actually help you and will help you sleep better, which is what you need for the next day. So let's talk about meditation. I know that you have also introduced me to meditation. I am not an expert. I don't do this well. I feel like I struggle I start with breathing. I think that's a great way for me to get into meditation. But this is something that's intimidating for a lot of people. I feel like there's a lot of apps out there that guide you through it, but I'm just someone that doesn't like to hear a voice in my head when I meditate. I want to be able to do it on my own. So I don't know what that is, but so how do you get into that? Like, and how does that help?
Yeah, real quick, that's a great point. And I just want it to be known, I want to share with everybody, meditation is so badly misunderstood. People think, you have to wear certain clothes or you have to look a certain way or you have to sit in a certain posture. All of that is complete rubbish. None of that is true. Let me tell you here and now, meditation, first and foremost, is a state of mind. It begins and ends in your mind. Anything and everything physical is all secondary, and it's not something you need to worry about. As a matter of fact, moving, going for a run, going for a jog, going for a walk, going for a bicycle ride, doing whatever you need to do, doing anything physical, moving, is one of the greatest forms of meditation. So meditation is a state of mind. It's nothing physical. Anything that helps you divert all the focuses away and bring your attention to a singular activity is meditation. That's it. It's just that simple, which also leads into reading, which is on this list, which a lot of people claim that they go into a flow meditative state when they read something that they're really passionate about. So reading has the same benefits. And laughter, my gosh, there's been so many studies done on how amazing laughter is for your soul and for your mind and for your body. Again, laughter, physically increases blood flow to the brain, helps you releases endorphins, helps you feel good, all naturally. And one of my favorite techniques is I love laughing at myself. There's so much material there to work with. That's one of my favorite things.
I do love, that's funny, but I think that I've recently become a fan of laughing meditation. I used to sort of be like, I don't know if that's really such a thing, but it is, because at the end of the day, we forget, we're so serious in our day, we're so serious, we're so purposeful, we're so busy, and we forget that a smile can really break things up, can make somebody else feel good, but you can feel good by just smiling, and having that really penetrate to the rest of you, right? And laughter is one such thing. The other day I was reading an article about how laughter within a team can really build better connections. Again, everyone is moving at such a fast pace, we forget to do the human things that really brought us even together. So it can be great for just taking a break with your team, and who knows, maybe the work that you do in the next hour is going to be so much more productive because you just had that moment of connection and you all laughed and de-stressed, right? So
I hate to do this to us, but quick time check. We should keep it moving along.
Yep. So I don't know if there's we can talk about the stuff wherever, right, Kamal? So I want to see if there's any ideas that anyone in the room has that's different from any one of these, any other interrupters that you use that are effective in your life that you would like to share, we'd love to build this list.
Well, B put in the chat that her outlet is writing. I won't try to pronounce her name again because I know I'm not going to get it right. So I'm going to call her B. So writing is her outlet. She write events of the day, poems or short stories, and she light a few candles and listen to music. So that's her stress interrupter.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
All right, great. You know, as you were talking about that, definitely thinking about some things that I do, like I call it like the zen out or to kind of zone out. And one of those things is I carry clay. I keep clay around in the office.
I love that.
And so there's some modeling clay that you can use and squeezing that kinetic energy.
Yep.
Being able to do that and even tearing it up and rolling it. I sometimes, because I work at a hospital, so I work with nurses. And sometimes during a stressful shift, just kind of taking a break and doing that, they find is very helpful.
Sure.
Because it allows the body and the mind to work together.
Yep.
Another thing that I have found has been very helpful is using fabric, pieces of fabric that are cut off maybe by 6 by 6, and then cutting little slits into them and using them as what they call tear cloths. It allows them to release some of that stress and anxiety.
Interesting.
And then also too, you can take those strips of cloth and tie them together and make knots, and you can kind of do all kinds of things.
Wow, that's neat.
With that,
That's neat.
I think that the next thing that I have learned is the technique that an athletic coach, or not athletic coach, a life coach showed me, is that you imagine that you are picking up the most heaviest thing on the ground, and you go down to your knees and you scoop it up with your hands. And as you're lifting it up, you feel like the weight, the world's on your shoulders. You just throw it over towards your back. So this whole kind of kinetic motion of just kind of feeling like you're almost like a truck or a trailer picking up the dirt and just throwing it away. But what it does is it kind of visualizes whatever's been bothering you, putting it away. So those are kind of the 3 things that I've used from time to time.
Beautiful.
So, you know, one of the things I want to share as we hear all these wonderful different ideas is someone once asked me at this point, they said, what's the best technique of all? And my answer was, the best technique is the one that works for you. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the best technique is. The best technique is the one that works to accomplish what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So have an open mind.
I can tell one that will disagree. I eat a bowl of pasta.
Love that.
Stress eating, love it.
Well, as long as you're hungry and that's when you eat it, I think you're okay.
Now, if it's a box of cookies, that may be a problem.
No, my daughter has a horrible habit that she just started recently. Whenever I think she's having a stress incident, she eats ice.
Ah, interesting.
So
that's cool.
I heard a couple of minds mentioned. One was music. So music tends to help me zone out. So that's always good. Just making sure you have the right playlists, of course, because some music will take you down the wrong road. But I guess, especially seeing where we live, nature, I would say. So I'm in the Bahamas along with Andrea. It might be the beach or just a park, and just being in that kind of, it's not a silence per se, but usually like the ambiance of nature around you, like birds chirping, the waves, and everything else, like whatever you're going through, and sometimes even taking it a step further and just sitting in the water or whatever have you, it just is kind of sweep away whatever stress you're going through at the moment.
Absolutely.
That tends to do the trick a lot of times.
Yeah. Love that.
I love that example Kenny shared, because Lakshmi knows this too well for me. Nature is always the answer for me. Nature is always the answer. Anytime I find myself in a rut, I just need to get out into nature. I need to get to the ocean. I need to get to the mountains. I need to get to the deserts. Luckily, we live in an area where we're like really close to all three of those things. So it's very, we feel blessed, and there's so many different experiences we can have when we go to the ocean versus when we go to the mountains versus when we go to the deserts. And I love that. Nature is always providing.
Yeah, very true. All right, so it's time for practice. Kamal's going to lead us through this grounding technique called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it only takes about 5 minutes. It's something you can do in the middle of your day. If you're having something stressful happening later today, you can do it an hour before that and just get yourself back to connect with yourself. So, Kamal, take us away.
Thank you, Lakshmi. This is one of my favorite exercises. I could easily spend half an hour on this. For the sake of time, forgive me ahead of time. I'm going to try to condense this a little bit so we can get through it. I just want to be able to get through all the material for you guys so we have a great deal of exposure to everything. So your 5 senses. I love this topic, right? Our entire reality is nothing but a construct of your 5 senses, right? Think about that. Everything you know to be real, you only know to be real based on one of your 5 senses. So let's start with our sense of sight. Let's do this exercise live. Look around you. Look around you and briefly identify 5 different things that you see. It could be anything, doesn't matter. Just look at 5 different things that you see around you. And take a quick moment to look at one of those things and really look at that thing from a different lens, from a different perspective than you normally do. Don't just glance over it. Stop and really stare at it. Really analyze the texture, the color, the format, the shape, all visual things that we take for granted. But for the sake of this exercise, this time, don't take those things for granted. Really let those things stand out and really notice more deeper, fundamental realities about these 5 different visual things that you may be looking at. So let's just take a few seconds and look around you. I love to remind everyone while we do these exercises to remind yourself to breathe. Breathe not shallow and short, but consciously remind yourself and continue training yourself to breathe deeply and slowly and what I call more completely. Remind yourself to breathe. Next, we talk about our sense of touch. Look around you and find 4 different things, preferably of different textures, that you might be able to touch. And actually touch something in a way like you've never touched it before. Analyzing its texture, feeling how it feels in your fingers, rubbing it through your fingers, whether it's something smooth or something slightly rough. Looking at 2 or 3 or 4 different items that have different textures that you can touch, and really experience what it means to touch something. How interesting is it that you form a sense of reality about this thing when you touch it? And how different textures and different hardnesses of things produce such a different reality in your mind. Next, we talk about one of my favorite senses is our sense of hearing. Sound is such a fascinating thing. There's been so many studies done on how sound affects the physical body, which so many people take for granted. Take a few seconds right now and try to identify 3 different things that you can hear. Obviously, you hear me talking. You might be in an environment where you hear other people talking or other things, or maybe some birds or some cars or something. And really take a moment to try to wrap your mind around what it means to hear different things all at the same time, what it means to hear my voice, how sounds land on the eardrum and beautifully transparently get transferred into electrical signals that you decipher as sound. What an amazing this concept is of using all of our senses to produce a given reality that we take for granted every single day. And next we go to our sense of smell. Take a deep breath. What do you smell? Try to identify it. Really analyze it. Smell it again. Take another deep breath. What is that you're smelling? Think about it. What could it be? And lastly, we move on to my other favorite, your sense of taste. How amazing it feels when you're eating that thing that you love, whatever it may be, your favorite food, your favorite vice, whether it's chocolate or pasta or ice cream or whatever it may be. Next time you're eating that favorite thing, slow it down, deliberately chew more slowly, and really roll that thing as the thing starts to liquefy in your mouth. Don't just swallow it, habitually. Take a moment, roll it around in your mouth, really start identifying the different flavors that you're tasting and taste its texture. Marvel in this concept of the fact that we humans are some of the only creatures on this planet that have this luxury of actually tasting things that we eat. Most other creatures don't have that. They don't have the same sense of tastes that we have. So this is such a fantastically human thing that we take for granted every single day. Next time you eat something, try not to take that for granted. Chew it slowly. Roll it around in your mouth. Really feel it in your tongue and your mouth before you swallow. Get to know all of your senses. Don't take them for granted. Take a deep breath. Deliberately breathe slowly and deeply and enjoy all of your 5 senses. Any thoughts anybody would like to share? Hilarious, Andrea.
That is funny. See, you can do it with the excuse of really paying attention to the taste.
Yep.
Yes, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna say make sure I put extra flavor in my crackling snack because I have to chew every bite, liquefy it before I swallow.
Yes. Yes. I felt like Kamal was speaking to me. That is his common complaint about me. Chew slowly.
Yeah, Lakshmi's, she's so classic type A. Like when she eats her food, she's not even there. She's already somewhere else, thinking about something else, waiting to do something else. And very often I'll ask her, "How's that thing?" And she'll be like, "Yeah. It's fine." And sometimes when she really irks me the wrong way, I'll just gently take the spoon from her hand and put it down. And I'll say, "I want you to stop eating." And she'll say to me, No, I gotta finish this. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. And I said, instead of finishing that, why don't you go finish that thing that you can't get off your mind? then come back and give the food the attention that it deserves. And she doesn't like it when I say that. So then she'll slow down and she'll eat more deliberately.
Yeah, I've never thought about eating deliberately, but I know I would sometimes tell my husband that when we sit down at the dinner table, I would say no cell phones, no television. This is family dinner time, and we have conversations. So it's like slow down. And I tell my daughter, I said, you cannot speak with food in your mouth. So it forces us to have a conversation. Is how was your day today? What did you do? What happened exciting? So, that's a practice that we have in our home that we use dinner time as our conversation to catch up on each other's days. But it helps us slow down and enjoy the meal as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right. Well, we wanna spend more time talking about sort of what you took away after this exercise, but in the interest of time, we'll try to move forward and wrap up here so we have time for more Q&A at the end. So just to reiterate some of the concepts we already talked about, right? Finding balance, it's not something you can find, right? And that's why it's sort of a title that questions whether you can really find it. It's something you need to work to create. It's something that you need to take that first step to really create that in your life, integrate it as part of your life, right? And stress is not what happens to us, it's how we respond to it. We talked about that in the beginning. That response has the power to help us figure out how to perceive that stress and what impact that has in our lives at that point is directly proportional to how we respond to it. And then wellness is not a state of being, it's a state of action. Again, just like balance, if you want to have more well-being in your life, it's something you need to work hard for. Because our default is go, 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 right? So we really have to work to change that default until you develop a different default, which is maybe a more balanced life. Wouldn't that be wonderful? So it's something you can do. It's right in your control, but you have to work at it, right? A few resources for you. We'll send the PDF of this deck to Andrea. There are a few resources for you to reference that we referenced throughout our talk today. My most favorite one here is an article on scheduling worry time. It's kind of funny because in the day, what happens is, we're carrying worries from maybe our personal lives into our professional life. And Andrea, just like you said, you're carrying the stress from your work back to your home, right? And it's not healthy, right? You don't want to do it, but it happens unintentionally. So this talks about literally taking 10 to 15 minutes in your day and pouring down all your worries, sort of like a journal, right? Write it all down. So it's like literally concentrating your worry time all in 10 minutes. So you don't have to worry the rest of your day. So it is kind of funny, but it's really true and it works. So you can.
That's that release channel I was talking about.
Yes, it's a great release channel. And Andrea, as a part of this community, there's we want to introduce you to a community called Hit Refresh that lets you really pause in the middle of your week, in the middle of all the busyness to reconnect with yourself. So just like you saw those stress interrupters that we talked about, we learned different stress interrupters in that Hit Refresh session. And it's practiced every first and third Wednesday of the month on LinkedIn using Zoom. So it's a LinkedIn community, it's free. So if that fits into your day, find us on LinkedIn, look for Hit Refresh. We also have a website, hitrefresh.org, and we're going to be building more resources there. And one of the things that I love about it, and again, as I said, I need balance more than anyone. And it's the reason why I became a steward for this community is because it reminds me of the importance to build those interrupters into your day. It's not because I'm an expert, it's because I want to do more of it. And if I'm surrounded by people that do it all the time, I will do it as well. So practicing in community, especially when something is not a habit, is really a great way to stay with it, right? So, so join us. We would love to have you. And definitely we'll share some information, Andrea, with you. And would welcome anybody and everyone that wants to join us.
Well,
So
lastly,
a
before you
couple of,
move on,
yeah,
you didn't say that we only meet for 30 minutes
yes,
on a
that's right.
Wednesday, which is the middle of
Yes,
the week, the first and third Wednesday, just for 30 minutes. And I've found that
yes.
participating in Hit Refresh has been such a midday refresher. Like it causes you to intentionally pause whatever's going on in your day. You pause for 30 minutes because we're supposed to take a break from whatever we're doing anyway. Right?
Mhm.
But sometimes
Yeah.
we get so engrossed in trying to complete work, we let an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours go by when we haven't even started for a 10-minute stretch. So
Mhm.
having a 30-minute break on a Wednesday in the middle of the day at 12 noon Eastern time is a great practice to have. We learn so many different techniques, laughing, meditation, breathing exercises. I mean, the laughing one is hilarious because you just laugh for no reason.
Yes, it is
You just
hilarious.
laugh and you laugh and you laugh. So it's really good.
Thank you, Andrea. Yes, I totally forgot to mention that it's only 30 minutes, so it's not like a multiple hour Zoom meeting that you'll get stuck in. Yeah. And couple of other things. This is really something that you can use to build that self-awareness and take some time to reflect when you have time. Use some of these questions as leading questions to really do some introspection to see what's going on with you. Why do you feel the stress? What can you do about it? How do you stay with it? So just kind of a self-reflection tool. Another tool here that's really helpful that if you're not familiar with this called Wheel of Life, there is a guide here on how you can use this tool. But again, as you start to find more balance in your life, you may need to understand where you need to build that balance. So this really helps you become more aware of how do you assess all the areas of your life. And if you don't like some of these categories, you can create your own wheel, right? This is just an example. You can draw your own wheel on a piece of paper, categorize it the way that you want, that resonates with you, and really rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. How balanced do you feel as you assess that area of your life? And then that'll give you some idea on where you need to build more balance, right? So that's, again, a great self-awareness tool. And that's really everything we have for today. I mean, I think we tried to go with the pace of everybody, but I also feel like it's always rushed because we could spend endless time talking about some of these things and learning from you all and mind melding. So really, as we leave you today, what is one step you are going to take to build more balance? Think about that. And really take that step, because it's not going to be something you can find or purchase in the shop. Like Kamal was saying, it's something you have to really work hard for, and it's in your reach, right? It's not actually that hard. You just have to be intentional and pause. Surround yourself with people that are going to call you out, even though it's annoying sometimes. But it's important to have those people that are going to hold you accountable, right? Be your mirror. And just think about that. And what does support look like for you? What do you need to be able to do this for yourself? So any parting thoughts? And I want to be mindful of your time also, Andrea, as you wrap up the session today.
There's two quick things I want to leave with the group. Number one, remember, it's never what you do on stage that truly matters. It's what you do behind the scenes that matters. Keep reminding yourself of that. And secondly, that proverbial mountain that you're scheduled to go climb tomorrow, think about how successful you'll be if you show up at anything less than your best. Thus, it will always remain in your best interest to actively find balance in your life and to work towards creating the best versions of you every single day. God gives us all a fresh start every morning. It's the perfect opportunity for you to do it better and more fulfilling fulfilling, sorry, than you did yesterday. That's all.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi and Kamal. I think this intimate session was so worth it. If you just only spoke to me one today, I would have feel like mission accomplished. So I want to thank you both for being here, for sharing with us. The session will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, so many more persons are going to watch it and benefit from it later on. I'm just glad for those who had the time to really come and share with us. And James, I know you wanted to be so much more involved, but your technical challenges were just so much today. So we thank you for trying to work that out and still be here and be a part of the conversation. So I did drop the SAU link in the chat. The next thing we have up is to take a quick photo for our social media profile. For those of you who are not on camera, don't feel obligated to come on camera. Tavine, you look great. I think this is your first time joining us. I don't know where you're joining us from, but we did do a quick icebreaker at the front. You probably weren't here as yet to say if this was your first time and where you're joining us from. So you could do that now.
It's my first time here, and I'm in Alabama.
Welcome, welcome. We have persons who join us from all over the world. So we welcome you from Alabama, and we hope this won't be your first and last time with us.
No, it won't be. I will be here.
Yes. And just to let everyone know, we have our sessions for the next few months up until October on our Meetup page already. So if you want to check those out and register, you're free to do that. Can you stop sharing, Lakshmi, so I can take a photo? I think you're sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is going to be very quick. Kenny wearing a muscle shirt today. I see you, Kenny. All right. So let me just do another one just in case people aren't happy with their smiles. Give me 1 second to save that one. Okay, smile again. All right, thank you much. I have a brief presentation for our presenters. Give me 1 second to get that loaded. I hope I didn't lose anybody. Okay, no. I have so many windows open. I can't find the one I want to have open.
I hear you.
Okay, so Lakshmi and Kamal, what we normally do at the end of our presentation for our wonderful presenters is to give you a certificate of appreciation to just let you know that we really thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to just share an hour and a half with us at BAPMC. We want you to know that we consider you a part of our family, and we hope that we can call on you again to offer us another very educational session about any practice that you guys use in your business with your clients to help us become better individuals, better employees, better team members, better employers, and just improve upon our skills. Because, you know, knowledge is one thing, but if you don't know how to have really good soft skills and work with people, then it doesn't matter how much education you have, you're still an awful person.
Yep.
Yes.
Right. So I want to
True.
thank you both so much. And I will share these with you on social media. And also our pic of all these beautiful smiles. Sarah and Tavine had such beautiful smiles. It made up for those who didn't want to come on camera. I just happened to let y'all know. So I will stop the recording. And if anyone wants